Good afternoon, this is Mike Sawatsky from North Country Cycle and Sports, and we're about to do our service seminar on snowmobiles. This is going to be pre-season check and things you should look for. So we're going to do this seminar on our used 2015 Polaris 800 Assault. So if you're looking for a good, clean, used snowmobile, this would be something to maybe check out. One of our most popular models. But first, here is Brent with our service seminar.
Okay, we're going to get started. First off, I'm going to show some of the things that need to be checked in the rear suspension. First off would be sliders. So there is a wear indicator on the slider. As you can see, this line here. Now, one thing to check is the slider down the whole length for wear. A lot of times you'll see it's good. As you can see up here, it's a little bit worn down more than at the back. Run along the whole distance. Don't forget to check the inside of both sliders. Sometimes if a rock gets in the track, it can chew the slider up. Next thing to do, check all your idler bearings. Spin them, make sure they're good. Don't forget the uppers. This carries the weight of the track, and if they do fail, the track will run into the rear suspension arm. Now's a good time to check all your fasteners. This is one that we don't do a visual check. We actually put a wrench and a socket and check every nut and bolt. Doesn't matter how much Loctite pressure you put on the nut, they will come loose. Check your shocks. If you're curious about service intervals, every brand does recommend a different mileage rating. If you use your knowledge of riding, and you can gauge the way the machine rides and handles, and if you notice any negative effects, it's probably time to do the shocks. We do rebuild shocks in-house. There are some shops in town that do some good custom work. We mainly do stock setups and some mild valve work tuning. So it's a good idea to check the seals on the shafts, check the shafts for pitting. If any of that is noticed, as soon as you bring it in for rebuild or any service work, you can guarantee that the parts are going to be needing replacement. So check that out. Limiter straps on the front of the arms, as you can see that one there. It is normal to see fibers hanging out, but if you see tears or cuts, it's time to change them out. If that limiter strap does fail while you're riding, you have too much suspension falling down in the front, and the machine's going to wheelie, you're going to lose ski pressure, and you're going to have negative handling. Checking the track is a good thing. You can rotate it. What we do is we'll put a paint pen mark, rotate the track, check it visually inside and out for any damage, any delamination. If there's any track clips that are starting to come undone, now's the time to get them done. If they do fail and they do come off, not only can they wreck the slider, they can come through, wreck a wheel, and wreck the track itself. So it's all this visual maintenance is one thing that has to be done. It's also a good time. It's hard to see, but if you can look up in there, Mike, at the front drive shaft. One side supported by the chain case, one side is supported by a bearing. A lot of times when that bearing's about to go, if you look in there, you'll see the seals torn out. There's fibers of rope. Something might have gotten in there. It's a good idea to check it every year. If that bearing fails on the trail, you're not going anywhere. And not only are you not going anywhere, but it's going to cause chain case damage too. So if we take a look at the front suspension, this one doesn't have carbides on it as it's in the showroom. You tear the carpet up, but it's a good time to check your carbides. Not only for what carbide's there, grab the ski and make sure they're straight. If the rod itself has a bend to it, the machine can dart, can wander, cause some negative effects. All these heim joints in the front need to be checked for play. Sometimes they'll be seized from road salt. All the tie rod ends, make sure they turn freely. If they do become seized and you start driving the machine, it can actually seize on the socket and it'll break right here or break somewhere else on the inside. Make sure they're free, make sure they're moving good. Again, check the front shocks, same as the rear. Check for pitting, any oil weepage, anything like that. Your A-arms are bushed. Make sure that the bushings are good. Make sure the nuts are tight. Sway bar links are intact. The guards on the tie rods themselves. Good idea to check the underside of the sled. Have you hit any obstacles? Most sleds run a heat exchanger at the point of entry of the chassis right here. If you hit any rocks or if you have any studs that pull out, it's a good time to notice them. If there's any damage, it can cause a leak sometime throughout the season, so good spot to always take a look into. Next would be clutching. Not only is it a good idea to check the belt for wear, take it right off of the machine. You're looking at both sides, you're looking for cracks, any cord starting to pull out. Basically anything that doesn't look like a new belt. Check your clutches, your cam arms. Make sure that they're tight. If there's any play side to side, they can start loading the roller and fail the roller. They can also start wearing into the spider. Bushings on the movable sheaves, cover and the rear sheave. Drive spring. They do wear out. When you got high miles, the tension on them does change. Sheaves, you want to make sure the sheaves are clean. Now's a good time to get in there with a good degreaser, clean the clutches, get all the belt dust out of there. If we're doing a clutch service, we take the secondary clutch apart and we clean all the internals, check for any wear. This is when we want to check for alignment. There's a few different areas you check. Offset is basically the way the secondary lines up with the primary. Whether it's out too far, whether it's in too far. Alignment is the relationship between the two clutches. Whether they're a lot out of a line, too tight this way or too far out the other way. Another one is belt adjustment. Every model has different specs. Every brand has different specs. Always check with the manual, but you want to make sure that your belt adjustment is proper. On this one, the belt adjustment is done right here. On this side of the engine, it's a good idea to check all the motor mounts. Bolts for tightness. As you can see, the rubber. On a high mileage sled, you'll get the rubber starting to break down and crack. The motor can come out of alignment and start causing belt failure. The price of belts these days, we don't want to be going through too many. On the other side of the machine, on this one we have electric start. So if your machine has electric start, it's a good time to do your battery maintenance. Make sure it holds a charge, load test it, check your connections for corrosion, make sure they're not rubbing on anything. Chain case wise, most models do have a chain inside. There's an adjustment. Some of them do have an automatic tensioner. Again, check with the manual. Changing the oil. Some models you can take the bottom drain screw out, drain the oil out, refill it with the proper oil. Some models you actually have to take the chain case cover and remove it for the oil to come out. On the brake caliper, now's a good time to check the material, the brake pad lining, and if you see it worn uneven, it can indicate a piston seizure in the caliper itself. Now is a good time too to look in the airbox. A lot of times mice will make nests, critters will get in there, chew wires, chew the hoses. Exhaust valves. On machines with exhaust valves, it's not necessary to clean them every year. If you're running good quality oil like the manufacturer recommends, the interval is basically based on the rider. If you notice a decrease in performance, might be a good idea to get them checked. Not only can they get dirty and cause improper operation, the bellows can fail, the springs can break, the nuts can back off. There's lots of different things that can fail on the power valves.
All right, hang on 1 second, guys. If you guys are getting value out of this, please comment below or share with your friends. We want to get this out there, so please share this and help your friends as well.
Okay, antifreeze level in the degas bottle is one thing to check the level. On some models that have a separate area to check the level, you want to make sure you check it in both locations. Now, on this model, right now I have it hooked up to our Polaris digital wrench, and right now we're wireless. So I can go in here, I can check every available parameter of this machine. I can record, I can check codes, I can monitor basically everything. It changes machine to machine, but the value of this as a technician is, there's a runnability issue with the machine, I can take this, bring it with me, run the machine, I can record, stop, and check if there's any faults that come up. The other way we go about it is a laptop with a cord. Great for the shop, but in the field the tablet works much better. Just going to go over a couple lubricants here. This is the Vess oil. This is for the variable exhaust system. This is a full synthetic oil. Polaris recommends this in all their models with the exhaust valves. If you use this oil, you do get quite a few miles between exhaust valve servicing. The premium blue is a synthetic blend. This is for all the non-exhaust valve engines. For the older Polaris models, snowmobile grease. This is the Polaris all-terrain grease. There are lots of grease points on this machine. Rear suspension, driveline, and then there's a few areas that do require spray lube. Like I said, all the Heim joints. We stock both the Polaris and the Yamaha lubricant for that. We do have Polaris shock oil. If you do your own shock rebuilds, we do have the various shock oils in stock. This is Polaris's snowmobile chain case lube. And we do have the Polaris antifreeze. That is also pre-mixed, ready to go. Now this is a really good additive. This is Carbon Clean. This is formulated for ethanol gas. This also removes moisture, and it works very well. We use this in the marine products too. It is allowed to be used in the marine engines. 2-stroke, 4-stroke, any brand of snowmobile. If you can use it tank to tank every fill up, or if you do encounter a moisture issue, you can use this to help remove the moisture. A few other areas to check would be headlights, tail light, make sure they're operational. Polaris snowmobiles have a throttle cable adjustment that needs to be checked annually. Almost all the brands out there do need that checked. Some are more crucial than others, but it is mandatory. You do have to check that. Good idea too to check all your steering fasteners up top. If you have a handlebar clamp that comes loose and your handlebars move on you, it's not fun out on the trail. There's few little incidentals that come up. Check your recoil rope. Not only check it here, pull it all the way out, shine a flashlight down at the bottom where it enters the recoil. A lot of times you'll see the fraying down there and not here. Basically, you just want to check that whole length of the rope itself. Give the machine a good look over in any areas of the chassis. Make sure your rivets are all tight. Make sure you have no nut and bolts hanging out. We do have what I really recommend for off-season storage. Yamaha product. They make a rust and corrosion protection lubricant. Now this works great for spraying on all areas of the suspension, the chassis, try to keep it off the exhaust and the brakes and the clutches. But as far as corrosion, if you're trailering your sleds, lots of salt, if you wash the machine, spray this on, keeps that machine looking nice that much longer. I'll just open up the hood on a Yamaha 4-stroke just to go over a few differences. Now again, all models are different, all brands are different. Do have to go and take a look at the service manual as far as different procedures go. So basically with the Yamaha 4-strokes, the oil's in the engine, got to change it the same way as you do your car. There's a drain screw in the bottom, you drain the oil out, you access the filter from the bottom on most models. New filter, new oil. Clutching, as far as maintenance, stays the same. Suspension, everything like that stays the same. More or less the motor is treated just in a different manner. You don't have any 2-stroke oil to deal with, but there's still maintenance involved. Now some of the Yamaha 4-strokes, as you can see, are pretty tight to work on. But the manual does show you how to get in there. That pretty much concludes as far as service goes, pre-season goes on the snowmobiles. If you have any questions at all, contact us and we'll help you out. And hopefully this was helpful.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you did find value in this, please drop a 1 below. And we will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.